Jamie Dornan had always been careful with his words, especially when it came to his private life. For years, he maintained a dignified silence, refusing to let tabloids twist his marriage into cheap headlines. But this time, seated across from a journalist in a quiet, elegant studio, he knew silence would only fuel the chaos. The world had been speculating for months, and the noise had grown too loud to ignore. So, when the interviewer gently asked about Amelia Warner, Jamie finally exhaled and spoke. "I still deeply respect Amelia, even after the divorce." The sentence hung in the air like a sudden crack of thunder. The studio fell into a stunned stillness. Even the interviewer, who had prepared for countless outcomes, blinked in surprise. Jamie's tone wasn't bitter, defensive, or rehearsed. It was soft, heartbreakingly soft, the kind of softness that only comes from love, loss, and acceptance intertwined. Within seconds, the clip spread across social media like wildfire. Fans, reporters, and curious onlookers replayed the moment endlessly, trying to capture the exact flicker of emotion in his eyes. Some claimed he looked relieved. Others said he looked broken. But everyone agreed on one thing. Jamie Dornan had just opened a door he had kept locked for a long, long time. For months leading up to this moment, rumors about his marriage had consumed the internet. Anonymous sources insisted Amelia had grown tired of the spotlight. Others swore Jamie's close bond with Dakota Johnson had reignited old speculations. Every photo, every body language analysis, every interview clip became another piece of evidence, fueling the fire. Jamie watched helplessly as strangers dissected his marriage with the confidence of experts. But the truth was much quieter, and much sadder. In the final years of their relationship, Jamie and Amelia were two people doing their best, trying to protect their family while navigating different emotional worlds. His career soared, demanding constant travel, long hours, and emotional exhaustion. Amelia, meanwhile, carried the invisible weight of motherhood, home life, and her own artistic dreams that were often placed on hold. No one saw the late nights when they sat at opposite ends of the couch, too tired to speak. No one saw the little misunderstandings that grew into bigger ones. No one saw the slow unraveling of two good people who loved each other but no longer understood how to move in the same direction. When they finally decided to part ways, it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't explosive. It wasn't caused by betrayal or scandal, despite what the tabloids loved to imply. It was simply the end of a chapter neither of them wanted to ruin with bitterness. Jamie signed the divorce papers with trembling hands, not because he doubted the decision, but because he knew life would never look the same again. He wasn't losing a partner, he was losing a constant, a piece of his foundation. And even after the separation, they continued talking, continued co-parenting, continued respecting each other with a quiet maturity the world rarely saw. But the media didn't want maturity. They wanted drama. When rumors began linking him to Dakota again, painting their bond as the reason for the breakup, Jamie felt something inside him snap. Dakota, who had supported him like a loyal friend for years, suddenly became a target of speculation and blame. Amelia, too, found herself dragged into conversations she never asked for. And Jamie realized that staying silent meant allowing two important women in his life to carry weight they didn't deserve. So on that day, under the cold glow of studio lights, he made a choice. A choice to speak. A choice to protect. A choice to tell the world the truth, or at least the part they needed to hear. He clarified that divorce didn't erase love, respect, or gratitude. Amelia had been his anchor during his most chaotic years. She gave him stability when fame felt overwhelming. She built a home for him when he was still learning how to navigate the world's expectations. And even now, after everything, he cherished her. As the interview continued, cameras captured a man who wasn't trying to control a narrative, just trying to honor a woman who stood beside him longer than anyone truly realized. And somewhere across the city, Amelia watched the clip alone in her living room, eyes softening, knowing exactly why he said every word. What the world didn't know yet was that Jamie had more to reveal. Truths about their marriage, about their separation, and about the tangled web of rumors pulling Dakota into the storm. The quiet before the storm had finally ended. And the real story was only beginning. The reaction to Jamie's interview spread through Hollywood like shockwaves, echoing across newsrooms, sets, and social media feeds. People expected an angry denial, a cold dismissal, or some carefully crafted PR sentence designed to silence rumors. They did not expect a man openly admitting respect, gratitude, and lingering emotional weight after divorce. But Jamie wasn't done. The world had only heard the surface, and he knew he needed to reveal the deeper truth, not just for himself, but for everyone whose name had been dragged into the gossip storm. As the cameras kept rolling, the interviewer pressed gently, "Why speak now? After months of silence, why choose this moment?" Jamie looked down for a long second, fingers intertwined, as if steadying himself. When he raised his eyes again, the vulnerability in them silenced the room. "Because people made assumptions," he said, "and those assumptions hurt Amelia, and Dakota, and me." He emphasized each name with care, refusing to let any woman in his life be reduced to a storyline. He explained how the breakup wasn't sudden but the result of years of quiet struggle. There were no screaming matches, no betrayals, no secret lovers hidden in the shadows. Just two good people drifting apart despite every attempt to save what they built. Jamie admitted it was painful to watch the internet rewrite their marriage into fiction. A fiction where Amelia was the abandoned wife and Dakota the secret cause. He paused, swallowing hard, before continuing. "Amelia deserved better than the story people created. She gave me years of love, loyalty, and support. She stood by me when the world doubted me. She protected our children when fame became cruel." His voice cracked at the last sentence, and the audience felt the rawness behind his words. Across town, Amelia watched the broadcast from her kitchen table, a cup of tea untouched in her hands. She wasn't angry. She wasn't hurt. She was proud. Proud that Jamie chose dignity over drama. Proud that he defended her without turning it into a performance. And proud, most of all, that he remembered the parts of their story worth honoring. But Jamie still had more to say. He shifted slightly in his chair before addressing the rumor that had haunted him and Dakota for nearly a decade. "The truth is," he began, "Dakota was never the problem. She wasn't involved in our divorce, and she didn't cause any damage to my marriage." A heavy silence filled the studio as he continued, choosing each word with deliberate care. "She was my friend, sometimes my emotional support, but she never crossed a line. Not once." Fans watching the livestream held their breath. Some were disappointed, clinging to fantasies. Others felt relieved, finally hearing clarity after years of speculation. But no one could deny the sincerity in his voice. Jamie revealed how Dakota had been dragged into their personal life against her will. He described how she received hateful comments, how simple gestures of friendship became evidence, how every interaction they had on or off set was dissected like a crime scene. "She didn't deserve that," he said, shaking his head. Meanwhile, Dakota was on set, sitting in her trailer, eyes glued to the small screen on her phone. She felt something she hadn't felt in months: relief. This wasn't Jamie protecting her out of obligation or guilt. This was Jamie telling the truth because he finally had the strength to do so. As the interview neared its end, Jamie shared the hardest part of all. His regret. "I wish," he confessed, "that I had been more present, for Amelia, for my family. I let my work consume me. I thought I was doing it for them, but I was just losing them slowly." He didn't cry, but his voice carried the weight of a man who had spent years carrying blame alone. He leaned forward and offered one final message, softer than anything he had said before. Divorce doesn't erase love or respect. Amelia will always be one of the most important people in my life. We're not husband and wife anymore, but we're still a family." The studio audience remained silent, moved by the rare honesty. It wasn't a scandal. It wasn't a confession of wrongdoing. It was closure, gentle, painful, and real. But the world wasn't done reacting. Some praised his maturity. Others claimed he was hiding something deeper. Many wondered what Dakota would say now that her name had been cleared. And a few insisted this interview was just the beginning of an even bigger story. One thing, however, was undeniable. Jamie Dornan had finally spoken. And nothing, not the rumors, not the tabloids, not the fan theories, would ever be the same again.